Three, two, one, one, two, three. Back at it again. Best of Buds here with Ken, the Master Director of the Bristol County Veterans Association. One of my very dear friends and an individual who is doing great things at the Bristol County Veterans Association. Want to be here and want to ask you about it. What are some of the great things that you've done since you've taken this position?
So for me, I would say the biggest thing that we've done since I've been here just over 3 years now. And when I got here, things were running already, but it was, I think that we were known as a food pantry for veterans.
Sure.
Right. And I said, and I didn't like that because there's a lot of other food pantries that veterans can go to. But what we don't have here, definitely in Fall River and within the Bristol County area, the whole South Coast actually is a veteran center, like a true veteran center.
Besides the one, you're not talking about like a vet center like what's being run by the VA, but
Not
like
that, correct, not the VA, but something where the veterans can just come and be together with other veterans. They don't necessarily need to come here for food. We have it if it's needed, absolutely. But what we've really focused on is just making it that welcome, that center where you want to come in and have a cup of coffee. You can have a cup of coffee with a group of veterans, and and they talk. They talk back there. They say that they're saving the world one day at a time. Back there, they're figuring out all the world's problems back there. And I think that's everybody wants to help veterans, and they try to give them these tangible things, right? But
housing,
yeah,
food,
and that stuff is needed, absolutely. But I think what gets missed a lot is there's a lot of veterans that might not necessarily need that stuff, but what they are missing is just the camaraderie, just
community,
the community of being together,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So that's what we've really focused on with a lot of our different things, like the coffee, right? And we just did a trip to the museum last Friday,
I was
right?
gonna go.
Right. So that was 30 veterans. We got on a bus to go up there and enjoy the day at a military museum. So those types of things. We go kayaking.
Absolutely.
Right.
You have a lot of different events.
Just those types of things of getting the veterans together, and then when we get them together, then we can figure out what it is that they want and what they need. So that's my approach, is to get them here first and figure out what they need.
The upgrades have been wonderful. I've seen, because I've been here for about the last 6 years.
Yeah.
For the most part, I was trying to work with some of the other programs with the previous administration, and also work with City Hall to try to build this place up and also do more. But some of those individuals left.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I do love how the DAV is here.
Yes.
How you do have the social, you have the peer-to-peer freaking meetings.
Yep.
You also have a lot of other things. Like one thing that I think could possibly help here, if you want to step this up just a little bit more. You already have the building thoughts for the next ones and the employment and everything like that. But you're probably going to throw resume building in there with that.
Correct.
With the computers you have right here, you all guys do that as it is, but not as much as you would want.
Yeah, and it's not as much as we want. And for me, I think that those things, we need space to do those, right?
To an extent. They do the same thing at mass hire and whatnot, just with a little amount of space.
But we don't have a designated room for it, and I don't need a big room, just something quiet where we could have that one-on-one time.
Sure.
It's very hard out there in the lobby area where the computers are, right? Like there's a lot going on, and it's tough to focus. So we need that space, just a simple little room. It doesn't have to be elaborate, where we could put the computers and we could do those things. Because when you're doing that, you really need that one-on-one time, or you need that time to focus on your resume, right? You need those types of things. So that is on the docket. That's on the plans for it. Yeah.
What's let's say, how long is this position going to be for you? Is it appointed position where you have a time frame, or do you just here until you're fired?
I'm here until I'm fired, or I'm underground. One of the two.
Right.
Yeah.
So 2-year, 5-year, 10-year plan. What are you seeing?
So we are working hard for a new building right now. We are really there's a lot going on behind the scenes that that are not
You ain't dressed up for
out
nothing.
there. Yeah, they're not out there. So it's great. I can come in, do what I have to do, but I have a lot of meetings and things like that outside of the building. So my team, amazing. They can run the place without me. And that's great that they can take that. So I'm working behind the scenes. I would say 2 years is my realistically my goal for a new building. We need more space. That's our big thing, is more space. So 2 years for that. 5 years, we are looking at housing, starting to try to figure out the housing, for veterans.
Are you thinking maybe a Habitat for Humanity type situation, or maybe like vet like vet housing group
Yeah.
type deal?
So what we're looking at. So there's a lot of different models that exist, right? And I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So we just need to figure out which model works best
For here.
for here, right? For Fall River and Bristol County in this area, the needs, So that, I would say, that's my 5-year plan. We're looking at, is it something that we buy a 3 tenement, and now we have the 3 tenement where we could do the different programs within that situation, there's
Kind of
just
doing like what they were doing with the VTH.
correct, yeah. So
Because I was
VTH is
there
Okay, all right, yeah.
when they were building the apartment and building the whole
Yeah.
thing, and I'm trying to get them up here as well.
So
too, to
now,
talk about
yeah,
the
so
situation.
VTH is a great model where, they have their center now, and they actually pretty much own an entire city block.
Oh, they do.
Right?
Well, more than that.
Yeah.
Actually. The original house, if I'm not mistaken, which is the main part of the city, they own that block.
Yep.
And then also where I was staying, big house and things like that. That block is theirs, and they have 4 buildings right there, and then the little office on the side,
Yep.
and then also there's 2 other houses like that I also lived at while they were doing another renovation.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're pretty well spread out.
So that's what we're looking at.
Okay.
Possibly that model, but it all depends. Again, it all depends on what the needs are, what we see the needs of our veterans here. If it's a single male or a single female, do we do that, or do we do family housing type thing? We just need to figure out what the needs are.
Absolutely.
And I've been working with the VSO here in the city, trying to, we talk and try to collaborate on numbers and see what the needs are, because I don't know everything, so let's get the people that kind of know, that are in the know. Let's pull them in,
Here's a question for you. With the new system that y'all have in, y'all understand a lot more analytics
Yes.
of what is going into this place and all the people that come through here.
Yeah.
Main question is, from what I've seen, usually it's around the age of 45 and up that come in here.
That's fair. I would say that's fair.
About a good
Yeah.
about a good 80%.
Yeah, and it's,
Like helpers are one thing,
We-
but they are for them.
we have separate groups, right? Like for the food pantry, it's a lot of the older folks that need the help with the food pantry, right? But then some of the social aspects, the kayaking and things like that, the hiking, that tends to be mostly the younger crew that they don't necessarily need the food. They're okay with that, but they just want to be.
They need their community.
They just need their community. They need to be with other veterans, So it's funny. We've got these different groups, and then we've got our Shiros, our women's, right?
Outstanding.
Which we've been recognized at the state level for that. That we are one of, maybe I don't know if we're the only ones, but we're leading the pack,
That's
with running our women veteran program.
I just actually introduced Kim to a woman, female Marine veteran who's also an author, friend of mine as
Okay.
well too. Trying to get her
Yeah.
to do some things,
Great.
with her, because Kim's all over this.
Yes.
Like
Yep.
she's my next interview.
Yes, she's great. She's got the personality for it. She's got
The tenacity,
the tenacity,
the doggedness.
Yep.
Like
she goes out
she
there and
was.
does it.
All right, you're the brain and the head of this place. She's the heart.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
All right, new building. Do you want to try to keep this one? Because I know a lot of the city and everybody else is like, that's a nice spot next to that park.
Yes. So I think if we get
Upgrade.
our own building, we would have to forfeit this one. So this is actually a city-owned building, and we use it. You know, the DAV, like you said, that we partner with here at the center. I think we would have to. It would be too much for us to have two. You know, for right now.
For now.
For now, you know, hey,
Or
who
this
knows?
building.
Yes. Yeah.
This building.
Correct.
What do you think will be for the younger generation, for the newer ones coming in, the other veterans? Like, what do we need to do to get them to make this part of their transition stops? They don't have
Yeah.
to stay, but at least coming by. If you live in there or you're from here,
Yeah.
why not? Talk to the VSO. Go talk to the Bristol County Association.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? And I've had lots of talks about this. You know, when you get out of the service, you know, I know when I got out of the service, it was, you know, a high five at the door and good luck. You know,
For the most part, yeah.
right? Yeah.
What years would you serve?
96 to 2000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before the war.
Before, yes.
Okay.
Yep. So now they're trying to, and I don't know. There's not a simple answer. Like I wish that, and this is way too big of a, I would say for a fix is, but almost to get the military person a contact with their VSO. That way, when they get home, wherever they're going, but it's also Massachusetts is the only one that has the VSOs in every town in city. So it's not like that across the country, you know. So
True. Well, you can get the your local VA and their
Something.
representative.
Yeah.
And then you have all the local organizations that
Correct.
are like this
Yes.
in almost every area. And
Correct.
if you don't have a VSO, you have a VFW.
There's still options, yeah, I would
Yeah.
say. So that I say that's the quick fix, right? Is to get them aligned with the VSO or the VFW, whoever it might be, because it really is. When you get out of the service, it was the high five. They've gotten a little bit better, kind of setting people up. But for the younger folks, you know, we partner up with the college, with BCC. I'm very close with the student, the SVA over there.
Teddy, right?
Denny's
Denny.
the director there. Yep. Talos is the president. So I'm really close with those guys there, and that's the younger ones, right? Are in school right after the service. I think that's a good way to go. And again, they don't really need much other than the social aspect of it, of getting together, you know.
That is true. And we are our own worst self-identifiers.
Correct.
For problems, for any other issues and whatnot. And also identifying that social aspect of the transition.
Yes.
How needed it is, because you're going from big organization to by yourself, maybe with your family.
Yep. They told you when to eat, when to sleep, right? And now you're on your own to figure it out, you know.
And some people have already organized it and they can click on and just fix it out, like yourself, like Danny, like other people. Me, myself, and some of the other guys that rolled through it, we had issues and whatnot. And granted, that's everybody. That's everybody has their own, transitional issues.
Yes.
And I personally just want to make this place and other places like this just truly part of the transition process so we can knock down that 22.
Yes. Absolutely. And that's my goal, you know, is just that 22 number, right?
Which is actually about like 43 if we want to actually really look at it.
Very disheartening to hear that. And what can we do? What can we do to help? You know, and that for me, there's not one one size fits all.
Exactly.
Right. So that's why we try to expand, and we try to do. Right. You mentioned it, our peer group on Monday nights. I don't have space for a counselor in here. I just don't have an empty office. So
Would you think about moving into a church?
uh,
Granted,
overall,
in the building is nice, and usually you only have those 6 guys that are back there and whatnot.
Yep.
But moving into a church or whatnot, granted, talking about veterans events, maybe with some other people who are from the society, they may not hear it the way we hear it, but they hear it for the way their veterans may hear it, and start those conversations.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying. I like to keep it veteran because we don't open up. Right, we don't open up to just anybody.
Correct.
So it takes a lot for us to open up, and then when we do, it almost has to be somebody that's on the same playing field as us, right? That understands. I sit in on some of the meetings back there, and the lingo. We all know. We all have our own lingo, right? The military, we have it,
but it's more than that. It's an understanding of strife. Like the one guy who never served, but he hangs around here all the time. He's got his own situation. I can't remember his name right now. I think it's Matt or something. Speaks multiple languages. Like I was like, no, you're pretty much a version of an intro pack. We accept the heck out of you because you know what we've been through.
And that's the thing, right? So I'd like to keep it. We have opened it up to first responders. Everybody.
That's a different type of love.
Everybody thanks a veteran. When they see a veteran,
it's opened up. It is opened up to nurses and other people in the civil services and whatnot. And like I asked a few years ago at one of one of the car events and whatnot, I saw the young Marines, and they saw me, and I was wearing military hat, and they were like, "Thank you for your service." I was like, "I appreciate that, young gentleman, but I ask you, why do you say that? Did you always say that? Are you just saying that because everybody else says that? I like what you're doing. This is another way to actually thank for your service by giving others service, but trick more words besides besides."
We all feel that way.
It's
funny.
hard to manifest it.
We're in parades and you hear them, "Thank you for your service," as you're driving down, and it's great. But for me, it's these first responders are doing it right now. So let's thank them, right? They're doing it in the moment. When we were in the service, I know when I was in the Marines, nobody thanked me for my service.
Different time,
right?
Different time.
So it's almost like they wait until you get out and then they thank you. But for me, it's important to recognize these first responders that are doing it right now, and seeing just as much as we did in the military, right? They've got some pretty serious trauma that they deal with,
that a lot of us have dealt with, and like the recognition is there all the time. The survivor's guilt, the isolation, the tendency towards possible. Taking the short way out.
Absolutely.
And it's that sense of pride for actually doing for your fellow man, which is one thing I love. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Do you have any other events you got coming up that you want to talk about?
Well, I know in July we're doing our barbecue event here in the city. This is our second year doing it. This year's a little bit bigger. Not as big as we want it to be yet. We're working towards that. So that's going to be July 18th, 19th, and 20th at Durfee High School.
Sounds great.
So I would say our website, thevabc.org, thevabc.org. Holly does a great job keeping everything on the calendar, up to speed on that. Stop in, 755 Pine Street. Stop in, talk to us. We, love to see veterans. We love to see anybody, because for me, eyes on us, it's only a good thing.
Absolutely.
Only a good thing. It brings things to the forefront,
And what's some of the things that you're doing to help with the community? Grant, you have all these community connections and everything else like that. Like they help enrich us. How are we enriching them back?
So probably one of the bigger ones, the fun one that we do is United Way here in the city. In the fall, they have an event that they do You can run, you can walk, you can bike, and we get veterans together to go down there, right? Because for us, we run a lot on donations, so I don't want to continuously take. So I want to give back to the community,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
We've done some of our veterans have gone down to the Quikasham River to clean up. They brought kayaks and they were cleaning up, right? So for me, that's really important. Is
Very.
the veteran community serving the larger community as a whole. That's really important to
The
me.
symbiotic
And
relationship.
it shows who we are as people, as veterans.
Absolutely.
We want to help and we want to give back. We did it in the military.
Absolutely.
Right? So
Absolutely. Continued service.
continues. Yeah, that's it. Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, here's the continued service.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
And we're out.